So you're considering purchasing a Tesla. Maybe you spent countless nights on the configurator, or maybe you're just too tired of paying for gas. Either way, there's this perception that buying a Tesla is like buying an iPhone on wheels, and that actually is sort of true. I've spent the past several years owning Teslas and driving them daily, and I've come to realize there's a massive gap between the marketing version of owning a Tesla and actually having one in your driveway. There are hidden costs, software quirks, and some genuine frustrations that nobody talks about until the car is yours. So I've put together this list of 15 things I wish I knew before buying a Tesla. Let's dive right in. Let's start with the big one that's been making headlines. If you're buying a Tesla today, basic autopilot isn't what it used to be. The car will no longer keep itself centered in the lane unless you pay extra. You're essentially getting traffic-aware cruise control, the same thing Honda and Toyota have had for years, but the actual lane-keeping tech is now locked behind a paywall. If you want any level of autonomy on the highway, you're going to have to subscribe to full self-driving. Right now, it's at $99 a month, but given Tesla's history, who knows how much more expensive that subscription will get in the future. We've seen software prices fluctuate wildly in the past, so locking in a forever price isn't really a thing here. And the frustrating part is that older Teslas had this for free. You're technically paying more money for less capability than someone who bought the car a year ago. Without that $1,200 a year tax, the tech experience feels surprisingly basic. It effectively turns one of the most advanced cars on the road back into a standard commuter vehicle, unless you're willing to pay a monthly rent for the car's eyes. Here's something that doesn't happen with normal cars. Tesla sells hardware lotteries. You can walk into a showroom today and buy two identical Model Ys, but under the hood, they're fundamentally different. One might have the hardware for AI4 chip, while the other is rocking the brand new AI5 chip, and the thing is, you won't actually know which one you're getting until delivery day. This matters because Tesla moves at the speed of Silicon Valley, not Detroit. We're already seeing Hardware 3 AI3 cars as recently as 2023 getting left in the dust when it comes to the newest AI-driven autonomy features. The software updates are still showing up, sure, but the truly cutting-edge wow features are being reserved for the newest silicon. So the car you buy today, your brand new $50,000 pride and joy, could be considered legacy hardware in just 18 months. You aren't just buying a vehicle, you're buying a piece of tech with a planned obsolescence cycle that moves significantly faster than most people trade in their cars. It's a total shift in the ownership mental model. Now, hearing about the hardware lottery might make you want to pause. You might think, I'll just wait for the next refresh, or the next solid state battery breakthrough, or AI5 to become standard. But here's the trap. If you wait for the perfect time to buy a Tesla, you'll actually never buy one. There's always, and I mean always, something better a year or two away. If you sit around waiting for the AI chip to ship in high volume, by the time you're ready to click that order button, there will already be rumors floating around for the AI6 chip. And if you wait for that, you'll be hearing about the AI7, AI8, or some experimental space-grade AI9 chip. It's a literal never-ending treadmill because Tesla's improvements are iterative. If the current car fits your life and your budget right now, I recommend just getting it. Tech moves way too fast to future-proof yourself forever, so you might as well enjoy the car today rather than walking around everywhere while you wait for a hypothetical update in 2029. Stop overthinking it, get the car, and enjoy the ride. Now, the good news is that even if your hardware isn't the absolute latest, the software keeps these cars feeling newer than anything else on the road. Most cars start aging and frankly start feeling a little relic the second you drive them off the lot. But Teslas actually get better with age. It's a fundamentally different ownership model where the car you bought 2 years ago is more capable today than it was on delivery day. Just over the last year, we've seen over-the-air software updates that have added new games, improved voice commands, and even adjusted the suspension tuning to make the ride smoother. Features like Sentry Mode and viewing your car remotely with the cameras were not available when the early Model 3s were sold, yet those original owners got it for free. So while the hardware might be fixed in time, the user experience is constantly evolving. It's one of those things that Tesla does better literally than every other automaker. It stops your car from feeling like a dinosaur 3 years into ownership by keeping the tech current. Real quick, if you're enjoying this video so far, do me a huge favor and hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. It helps way more than you think, and it lets me know that you're enjoying content like this. Also, if you do end up buying a Tesla, make sure you use my referral link in the description below. You'll get up to $1,000 off your purchase depending on which model you choose, and it helps support this channel at no extra cost to you. Here's the thing that they don't tell you. You aren't supposed to use your full range daily. Unless you have the LFP battery, Tesla recommends to charging around 80% or so daily to keep the battery healthy. So if your car is rated for about 327 miles, you're realistically working with about 262 miles every morning. Factor in a little battery degradation, and over time that number is closer to 250. It's still plenty for most people, but if you bought the car specifically for that top line number on the website, you're going to be disappointed unless you charge to 100% every single day. It's a fundamental shift in how you think about your fuel tank. But the good news is you just plug in your Tesla at the end of every single day and it gets topped up and ready to go for the next day. Now, if you live somewhere with real winters or extreme heat, your range is going to take a hit. We're talking about maybe 30 to 35% in the absolute worst conditions. In the cold, the car burns energy just to keep the battery warm enough to function. I've seen range drop around anywhere from 75 to 100 miles in sub-freezing temperatures. Heat is just as tough because the cooling system works overtime. If you live in Minnesota or Arizona, you need to mentally subtract a chunk of range right off the top. It's just physics, and no software update can fully fix it. To account for the range drop, I personally charge 5 to 10% more in the wintertime for my daily commute. Here's a hidden cost nobody talks about. You're going to burn through tires way faster than you did with any other gas car. There are two reasons for this. A Model Y is just over 4,500 pounds because of that massive battery pack. Second is that instant torque. Unlike gas engines where they have to build up power gradually, the second is instant torque. Unlike a gas engine that builds up power gradually, a Tesla delivers maximum force to the rubber the millisecond you touch the accelerator. The result is you may have to change out your tires at the 30 to 40,000 mile mark, which is nearly double the frequency of a typical gas car. And it's not just how often you change them. You need specific extra load tires that can handle the weight, which can easily run you up to $1,200 a set. It's essentially a new recurring maintenance cost that replaces oil changes, and is a total surprise for most long-term owners. But of course, all of this depends on how you drive your Tesla. On my previous Model Y, I changed the tires at around the 45,000 mile mark, and if you don't floor your Tesla everywhere you go, you'll be fine. Everyone knows that home charging is a secret sauce for saving money, but setting it up isn't free. The Tesla wall connector is $450, but the installation is a real wild card. If your electrical panel is on the opposite side of your house from your garage, you're not just paying for labor, you're paying for the 50 plus feet of heavy duty copper wire and conduit, which can easily push an electrician's bill to $1,500 or more. And if your home still has an older 100 amp panel, you might be forced into a full service upgrade, a hidden expense, just to handle the extra load without tripping your breakers from every time you run your dryer. When you add the potential permit fees and the charger itself, you could be looking at a hefty upfront investment before you can even plug in your car for the first time. To break even on those gas savings might take slightly longer when you're starting that deep in the hole. Don't get me wrong, home charging is a massive advantage, but that initial setup cost is a hurdle that most people don't properly budget for or simply don't know about. Let's talk about the subscriptions Tesla expects you to pay for after you've dropped $50,000 to $60,000 on the car. First is premium connectivity at $9.99 a month or $99 a year. This covers live traffic and music streaming. And the crazy part is Tesla refuses to support Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, so if you don't pay, you lose functional navigation with real-time traffic. You're basically forced into the subscription just to have a modern GPS experience. And then there's full self-driving. As you know, Tesla's moved to a subscription-only model at $99 a month. If you want the car to handle intersections and city streets, that's an extra $1,200 a year forever. Unless if Tesla raises the price of the FSD subscription, and then you'll be looking at paying more. These aren't optional enthusiast extras. They are core features that used to be a one-time purchase. Tesla shifted to a software-as-a-service model, meaning you're renting the car's best features instead of owning them, and they can change the price whenever they want. Remember when supercharging was supposed to be half the cost of gas? Well, those days are coming to an end. Prices have crept up to the point where supercharging now costs roughly 2/3 the price of gas in most areas, especially in California. And in high-end regions, the savings are basically zero. If you live in an apartment and rely solely on superchargers, you aren't going to save nearly as much as you think. It's also not just about the cost. Superchargers aren't created equal. Some max out at 150 kilowatts, while others hit 250 or 325 kilowatts, which is a massive difference in how long you're sitting there. On top of that, the network is getting busier now that Ford, GM, and Rivian have access. You're now competing with non-Tesla EVs that sometimes take up 2 spots because their charge ports are in the wrong location. The convenience is still there, but the cheap and empty era is officially gone. Now this one catches everyone off guard, the annual registration fees. In most states, roads are funded by gas taxes you pay as you drive. But since EVs don't use gas, a lot of states have started tacking on a massive EV surcharge at renewal time to make up for that lost revenue. And here's the reality. These fees are often way higher than you'd actually pay in gas taxes. For example, in Texas or Tennessee, the annual EV fee is around $200 or more, and at current tax rates, that's equivalent of driving a gas car roughly 18,000 to 20,000 miles a year. If you're only driving the national average of 12,000 miles, you're essentially being taxed for over 8,000 miles you never actually drove. It's a recurring hidden expense that completely changes the gas savings math, and it never shows up on Tesla's website. Once you get the car, you're going to be tempted to buy a million things for it. My advice is don't get caught up in the hype. This is an entire industry dedicated to selling you must-have Tesla accessories, and if you go down this rabbit hole, you could easily waste hundreds, if not thousands of dollars on junk that is completely useless. From carbon fiber handle wraps to specialized screen protectors, most of it just ends up being clutter. I actually made a very detailed video where I bought and tested dozens of these accessories to see what actually matters and what's just marketing noise. I narrowed it down to the most essential and useful items that genuinely improve ownership experience. I've linked that video in the description below, so definitely watch that before you spend a dime on Amazon or anywhere else. Stick to what works and skip the fluff. Now this is a controversial one. If you're planning to let full self-driving do most of the heavy lifting, buying a performance trim is genuinely wasting a lot of money. Performance models come with a stiffer suspension, stickier tires, and bigger brakes, the hardware designed for back roads and track days. But if the car is driving itself for 95% of the time, that performance goes completely unused. Instead, you're left with a harsher ride, more expensive tires that wear out faster, and worse efficiency due to the added weight. Many owners actually switch back to the base model for smoother, quieter rides and a better range. If your goal is autonomy, save the thousands of dollars you spend on the performance badge and get the long range model and enjoy the superior ride quality, and put those savings towards your FSC subscription instead. You actually don't need a fancy high voltage charging setup to own a Tesla. You can charge from standard 120 volt wall outlets, the same you use to charge your phone. Yes, it's slow, giving you about 3 to 4 miles of range per hour, but if you plug in overnight, say for 12 hours, that's an additional 36 to 48 miles of range, which can easily cover the average daily commute. Most people panic thinking they need to drop $2,000 on home infrastructure immediately, but that's just not required. If you eventually want more speed, you can grab an adapter for an RV or a dryer plug and get about 30 miles of range per hour charged. The barrier to entry is way lower than the hype suggests. A basic outlet gets you started, proving that Tesla ownership can be much easier and cheaper than people expect. This is one area where Tesla absolutely delivers. Maintenance is almost non-existent. Without an engine or transmission, you can say goodbye to oil changes, spark plugs, timing belts, and exhaust systems. The list of mechanical parts that can fail is dramatically shorter than any gas car. Your routine is basically limited to tire rotations, washer fluid, and the occasional cabin air filter. Even your brake pads last forever because regen braking handles most of the stopping power. Over Over a decade, those savings add up to thousands of dollars. You aren't just dealing with surprise repair bills for catalytic converters or alternators anymore. While major battery or motor repairs are expensive, the day-to-day reality is remarkably low hassle. And even for the battery or motors, you're covered with an 8-year, 120,000-mile warranty. It's a level of mechanical simplicity that traditional internal combustion cars simply can't compete with. I'm not here to tell you not to buy a Tesla. Teslas are genuinely impressive vehicles, and I've owned 4 of them, and I've enjoyed every single moment behind the wheel in them. The technology is incredible, the performance is fantastic, and the ownership experience has upsides that no gas car can match. But do your research, test drive one, and see if it fits your lifestyle. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Are you considering purchasing a Tesla, or are these deal breakers for you? Hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, and as always, I'll catch you guys in the next one.